Good morning.
Good morning. So, how are you this fabulous Friday?
Fabulous. How are you?
Doing all right. All right. So, you're tagged up. We are live on Instagram. We are live on my YouTube channel, and we are live here on Facebook. So,
Love
welcome
it.
everyone to the Dark Roast. I'm Donna Stroll, and I'm here with my beautiful co host,
No
Rose.
short.
There you go. I always say her name. I'm like, man, I should let her say her own name.
No worries. I was just added this to my profile.
There we go. So, today's topic is a big one, and I think a lot of people suffer from this. I think that,
Yes.
well, I know personally, I always have. I'm actually fight this beast daily, pretty much with everything that I do. So, we
I
are
wouldn't
going
say mine's quite that bad, but I've definitely been having it a little bit the last couple weeks.
So today's topic is, if you don't know, is imposter syndrome. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig up a little bit about what it is, the different types that there are, and offer some practical tips on how to navigate that for you.
Yes.
All right. So the basics of imposter syndrome are simply, do you feel like a fraud? Because that is what it's all about, right? It's that little voice inside your head that natters away that either you're not good enough, or you're not
You don't
perfect.
actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, all of that crap. I call it my evil Jiminy Cricket, because it's
Nice.
constantly there chittering away, right?
Hmm.
um, so why don't you break down what what imposter syndrome would be?
Yeah, so we got a bunch of different types of imposter syndrome, right? Because like anything, it can manifest in different ways. And the one that I think we see most often in the online space is the perfectionist. So we see this all the time when people who are like, well, my funnel's not quite perfect, or my website's not quite optimized enough, or my ad's not quite got the copyright that I want. And what this is a way to delay you from actually starting. You set extremely high standards. You're never satisfied with your work, and it makes you feel even more like a failure because you're not meeting your goals because your standards are so high. And
It's like,
so,
yeah,
okay.
I was just going to say, it's like the wall that you build for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you set the standard that is completely unattainable. And so when you fail, you're like, well, I'm a fraud. I'm a failure. I can't do this.
Yeah. And I mean, imposter syndrome, it it constantly will have you doubting if your achievements are real, and anytime you do actually do succeed, you're going to say, well, oh, well, it's because I was riding on someone's coattails, or it wasn't actually perfect, so therefore it was a failure. Or yeah, no, that was just luck. And if anybody finds out, they're just, no one's gonna, whatever. It's a really crap feeling, because you can be amazing and that little voice in your brain is the worst. All right. Um, so the next one is the superwoman or superman or super person, right? And you keep pushing yourself to try and prove that you're not an imposter. Now, these are your overworkers, right? These are the people who take on way more than they should to try and prove that they're capable, when really they're capable, and it's obvious that they're capable. And so they'll end up, overworking themselves to like just a crazy, crazy level. And it's like this little voice in their head that says, I need to do more. I need to prove. I have to constantly prove that I'm worthy. Because, these are the people who feel guilty for taking a moment to themselves. I should be doing, right? I do that all the time too. Like, but
Yep.
I'm getting better at it now, because my procrastination takes over, and it's like, yeah, we should, and we're just totally going to feel like guilt about it, but we still ain't doing it. So
Mine's usually other people where they're like, "Oh my god, like you're always busy. You do so much," and I'm like, "But I could do more."
I was like that when I was your age. I'm old now and I'm tired. So I still have the mentality of I should do more, but my body and my brain are like, but we're tired.
I've been working on it. I'm trying to get better. One of my favorite ones is what's called the natural genius, right? Where like everything you touch is a success, and therefore, if it's not a success the first time, or if it's a struggle to figure it out, then they're just like, all right, well, I don't understand this right away, so I'm not good enough. I can't do this.
Yeah. And that is one that probably affects a lot of people who um, were high achievers when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you put your kids in accelerated classes and they do all these things, and, you know, or they're natural at sports. And so they go to try and apply that to other areas of their lives, and it just doesn't work the same way. So there's a little bit of impatience that is a problem, and just the assumption that they should be good at anything that they touch, which, you know, is really harmful because naturally we have to take a little time, we have to take some practice, and we have to learn. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the soloist. My mom used to tell me that when I was little, my favorite words were, I'll do it myself. She's like, you were just constantly like, I try to help you zip up something, and you'd be like, I'll do it myself. I'm a little 3-year-old, I'll do it myself. Right. Now, this person prefers to work alone and feels like if they ask for help, that means that, you know, that people are going to see that they're fake or that they're a fraud, you know, or that they're incapable. That's going to show that they really don't know what they're talking about. So the idea is they have to do everything on their own. They can't release any of it. And it's not necessarily like we think of those people a lot of times as control freaks, right? Like, because, well, if you don't, you know, if I give it to somebody else, then it won't get done right. But there's also those of us who really feel like if I let somebody else into this world, they're going to see that I'm not nearly as capable as I'm presenting myself as. And, you know, so that's that fear of being found out. You really, you know, and so then they end up overworking themselves and overextending themselves, and then getting frustrated because they're trying to do everything. They have no time to do everything, or they can't learn everything. And then they get into that other part where it's like, well, I should know this. It's like, why should you also be a marketing expert and a video creator and a graphic designer, and, you know, like, just why do you need to know all of these things? It's like,
Yeah, I struggled with that one when I was finding other people to help with ice wellness. I was like, oh god, they're gonna see that I really don't know what the hell I'm doing though.
yep.
And then lastly, I think this goes hand in hand with perfectionist is the has to be the expert. So, you know, never feels like they know enough, always seeking information and training, which is great. You should continue education, should continue training and whatnot. But it becomes detrimental when you have the thought of I need to know everything before I start. Because again, that goes back to the perfectionist of it has to be perfect before I start. Just start.
Yeah. Yeah. I love learning, and it can certainly get in the way. If you put all of your, it's like being the perpetual student, but never actually doing anything with that knowledge. You're learning it for a reason, so utilize it. But yeah, thinking that you have to know everything before you start, and that comes with a lot of comparing, right? You're looking at, well, they know more than me. You know, they know how to do this better than me. They're more capable than me. That's a big part of imposter syndrome, is comparing yourself to someone or something else, and feeling like you should be there, or you can't do anything because you're not there, or what you have to offer isn't good enough because you're not as knowledgeable as someone else. But the reality is, especially in the marketing field, is you only need to be like one or two or 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of whoever you're trying to reach, whoever you're trying to help. Because there's different coaches, there's different educators, there's different skills that you can provide, and they can, as once, they might outgrow you, or you're going to continue to grow. So you're always going to be, a couple of 3 steps ahead of them. That's a choice. But you don't have to worry about trying to reach out to the 500 exec guy, right? That doesn't, unless that's, when you're there, then that's who you're going to reach. But don't try to jump from zero to the end, and think that you have to have all the knowledge before you can even put your foot in the water.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a saying in my real estate team that we said for a while, which is, the person who has published a shitty book is still one step ahead of the person who's never published a book.
Yep.
So, like there's so many times that people are like, when you start, you learn by your mistakes. Like you have to fail to succeed. And I don't know, again, it goes back to the fear of failure that we should not have. You have to fail to succeed, and you're never going to fail if you don't try. And I know for some people, like that's why they don't try, is because they're afraid to fail. But that's where you really learn what works, what doesn't. That's where you learn where your strengths and your weaknesses are. That's where you learn everything. And so starting before it's perfect is the best way, that when it's perfect, you've already learned all the hard lessons, and it makes it so much easier to scale.
Yeah. And imposter syndrome, because it's an internal dialogue that creates a set of emotions that makes you very uncomfortable, right? It makes you feel like it really is just a nasty voice that is constantly hammering at you saying, not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough. There's always going to be someone better. What if they find out? And no matter how hard you work, and no matter how many times you prove that you are more than capable, because every one of us has a skill, and every one of us has proven at some point along our life path that we are capable, that we can do the things that we set ourselves up to do. But that little voice in our head is constantly telling us, what if they find out I'm not as smart as I should be, or as skilled as I should be, or I'm not working as hard as I should be, or, if I release this information, they're all going to know that it's just a house of cards and everything's going to come in. And yeah, catastrophic thinking, all of that tumbles in, and all of that. So it can be a big challenge, and it does affect a lot of us in the marketing sphere, because especially newbies, because that stuff is the quickest way to build those walls, build those roadblocks, and stop us from succeeding. So,
yep. So how do we kick Jiminy Cricket's butt? There's a couple of ways to do it. First and foremost, it's like anything. You have to admit there's a problem, right? You have to acknowledge the voice. You have to acknowledge the feeling. You have to acknowledge the perception, whatever you want to call it. You have to acknowledge that it's there.
Yeah. And then you got to talk about it. You can either share it with some friends or mentors or a coach, because there are people who specifically handle this thing. I actually, with my writers on a different side, I actually am with a group of highly accomplished female writers, horror writers, and we all, and artists, yeah, there's writers, there's artists, there's publishers, they're all in there. And we all have this imposter syndrome, this nasty little voice. And so we can pump each other up and say, hey, that's awesome. And we can really feed that area that needs to be fed. Mm-hmm. And also talking to yourself, right? When that voice comes up, that's your opportunity to say, whoa. Take a look at maybe, what the truths are.
Love it. And with that, focus on the facts. The data doesn't lie. You can manipulate the data, of course, but data doesn't lie. So write down the accomplishments, review them, make sure you're looking at the actual growth of, whatever it be, likes, followers, subscribers, whatever metric you're looking at. Focus on that over the negativity, right? Like we were talking about this right before we jumped on. Like I've got 50 plus people now interested in our free challenge. And yeah, my brain kind of went crazy. I'm like, oh God, have I done everything right? Is everything good to go? Like it's too late now. But the fact is that there's enough of a market out there that I've now got 50 people interested and probably more. So I'm just looking at it from that perspective. And then, I'll get their feedback and go from there. But focusing on the facts versus letting your irrational emotional brain take over and stop you is almost always the way to go.
Yeah. And looking back too, I mean, sometimes you need to go backwards and look at some of the successes that you've had along the way that have led you up to where you are right now. So when you're having one of those moments where like, everybody's going to know I'm a fraud. And it's like, are you really though? Like, how much work have you put into this? How much energy have you put into this? How much knowledge, time learning, growing, building, all those things? How many times have you successfully completed this type of thing? Like maybe you're a designer and every time you throw out a design off to a client, you're like, oh my God, they're going to hate it. I suck. There's so many people that are better, blah, blah, blah. How many times have you offered up your work and they've gone, oh my God, this is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted. There you go. There's your facts. No matter what this is saying, those are your actual facts. So sometimes, go pull up past wins and don't just go, but the next thing you want to do is reframe your thoughts. So again, falling in the same line, challenge those thoughts. When they come up, like, is this really true? Like, is this actually a fact? I've done my facts. I've written them out. So like, is this actually true or is this just my brain being an asshole? That's and then you can flip the switch around. Like, and that works for a lot of things. Like I've been in situations where like, I just can't do this. I'm too overwhelmed. I'm too stressed out. And my brain will, because I've done a lot of cognitive behavior therapy work and like through psychology and training and whatnot. And immediately my brain goes, yes, you can. You may not know how right now, but yes, you can. And that's sort of the same kind of thing. And if you do it enough, if you reframe those thoughts and respond with a more positive statement, like, yes, I have proof to back it up. You do that enough times, it'll just become an automatic, right? It won't necessarily stop the initial thought, but you can crush it under your heel. So
love it. The other thing is, set realistic goals. So this is why we have the 3-month death date within digital and affiliate marketing, right? It's because people get into it and they're like, oh, I'm going to be able to quit my job next month because I'm going to be making $10,000 a month because it's super easy. And then 3 months in, they're like, I've made maybe $1. I've spent however much on training and solo ads and everything else. I'm done. And a lot of that is because the expectation was unrealistic. So we've talked about it before with smart goals. You should have a long-term, high number goal, but you need to break it into smaller, realistic, and attainable goals.
And appreciate those little steps along the way, right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about this earlier, like people who maybe they do a blog, they monetize their blog or they monetize their social media or something like that. And they put in all this work, or even with the affiliate marketing, they sell a lower ticket item and it's their first sale and it's like $2. And, it's like, well, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I only made $2. So obviously I'm a failure. No, you made something. You put a plan in action. You did your plan. You worked your plan and you achieved your first goal, which was to make money with this idea or this concept or whatever, to make a sale, or whether maybe it's gaining followers and you gain 3 followers. Well, that's not very many. Did you have those 3 followers before? No. So you made a gain. Work on that. That is, time to appreciate those little steps along the way, because very few people start at the beginning and can long jump to the end. It's a lot of little steps in between. And each step forward is progress. So, it's, acknowledge that progress.
Yep. Love it.
Yep. I have lots to say on this topic.
I know. I love it. It's great.
So, and then you want to seek feedback. Okay. So constructive feedback can, like I was saying with the group of friends that I have, it can help you see your strengths and, areas where you might have room for growth, but in a positive way. You're so good at this, you could probably do more of this, that kind of stuff. It's good to be around people who can lift you up, but honestly, you don't want anybody blowing smoke up your ass. You want real, positive, and constructive feedback. Because yes men won't get you anywhere.
Yep. That is enable your crap.
Yep. We like enablers.
Yeah. Yeah. We like them, but they are not good for growth.
Nope.
One of my absolute favorites, I think everyone needs to work on, is avoid comparison. Like, we see this all the time where it's like, well, this person started 2 months after I did, and they've already made 3 high ticket sales. And so clearly they know something I don't. And like, we all went through the same course, but they know why 2 + 2 = 5 and I don't. And like, it's just detrimental. It's not like, it comes from a bad place as well. It comes from a place of jealousy and envy versus like, okay, well, what are they doing that I'm not? And maybe I can learn from them, right? So comparison will always drag you down. Even if you're on the other side of it, right? Even if you're the one going like, oh, well, I started 2 months after you did, and now I'm doing better. There's still going to be somebody who's going to do better than you. And then you're still going to end up flipping the script and comparing yourself in a negative way. So we are all individual little butterflies. We all have our own journey, our own strengths, our own weaknesses. Like, it's going to be whatever our journey needs to look like. So comparing yourself to anybody is just detrimental for everything.
Yeah, it is going to definitely pull up all those flags. Like, you see somebody really succeeding and your brain's going to like, oh, are they doing it all themselves? I should be doing it all myself. Or, I can't be as perfect as them. I can't look as perfect as them. My house is not as perfect as theirs. Whatever it is. Oh, well, they know so much more than me. Oh, well, they just jumped in and they just automatically grabbed it. Why can't I? All those things, they all add up to one thing, and that is, failure for you. It's a roadblock you don't need. All right. I like this one. It's developing self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. I say this all the time. Like, don't let anybody else treat you poorly. Don't let anybody talk to you in a negative way. And that goes for you as well, right? Too often, we are more than willing to be the champion for somebody else to say, hey, you can't talk to my friend that way. But what about me, right? What about my own mind? Why am I allowing my own mind to be that cruel to me? That's why sometimes I like to think of it as a Jiminy Cricket, because now it's an external force that I can say, right? If it's inside, it's a lot harder to do that. So I tend to think of it more of as an external force, because then I can do something a little bit more about it. But it's important to be patient and kind to yourself. Give yourself time to reach your goals, and to make those mistakes. Like you say, failing and learning is failing forward. It's failing up, right? If you fail and you choose not to take anything from that failure, then yeah, it's, that's going to be a problem for you. But as long as you are constantly making the mistakes and learning from them and growing from them, that's just failing upward, man. That's how you grow. So just allow yourself room to make those mistakes. Allow yourself room to have those little hiccups and those failures, and to be kind to yourself. Like, man, just be kind to yourself.
Yeah, if you have a negative thought, like, think about it and be like, well, would I say that to anybody else? And if you wouldn't say it to, I mean, maybe you would because you're a dick. I don't know. But if you wouldn't, then, don't say it to yourself. Like, if it's
Yeah.
not okay to say to another person, it's not okay to say to you.
Yeah. And it's really important to keep that in mind. And that goes for everything in life. And I mean, it's not always easy going to be to counter that, right? Because sometimes those thought patterns are really heavily ingrained. And we may not even notice we're doing it. So that's why, like, one of the first things is be aware, right? One of the first things is acknowledge your feelings. And the reason for that is because the more aware you become, the easier it gets to be to counter and to do all the other things that are necessary to help stop that in its tracks. Because unconscious thought is dangerous thought. Yeah.
And then of course, keep learning, right? Like, how are we gonna beat not feeling like we know enough? Keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
Keep tweaking, keep being able to change it up. Like, one of my favorite things I've ever heard a business owner say was, your business that you started, if you do it properly, will evolve into something you never thought it could have been. And it's because, you keep learning, you keep tweaking, you go, okay, well, this doesn't actually work for my customer, but what if this works? Oh, this is a problem for my customer I didn't foresee. How can I solve this problem? And that's how we succeed. That's how we make it better. It's just keep learning.
And implementing,
Yes.
right?
Knowledge
So,
is useless without implementation.
exactly. Just because your head is full doesn't mean it's useful knowledge, right? But if you keep learning and implementing, um, it's an opportunity, and it's not, you don't use it as a inadequacy thing, like I have to learn more because I'm not good enough. It's, I'm learning more to share and give that and implement that. And every time you do that, you're going to build your knowledge, which will make you feel better, and you'll have more to offer, which will also make you feel better. And it will serve the people that you're trying to serve better. So, yeah. So all of these are like super helpful little steps to help you get through them. I'm going to go over it really quickly. Okay. So, acknowledge your feelings, talk about it, focus on the facts, then reframe your thoughts. So, is this really true? Set realistic goals, put the perfectionist to you away, and, realistic goals. Seek positive and constructive feedback. Avoid comparison because that'll kill you. Develop self-compassion. Be kind to you. And then always keep learning and implementing. So, yeah.
Yes.
Um,
And then if you still need help, we've got some resources for you, right, Donna?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're looking for some additional support, I would suggest you can talk to Liam Arthur, who works specifically with this. Now, Liam is actually here on Facebook. I'm just going to pop up. There's his information there. So, he deals specifically with the imposter syndrome. So, if it's something that you'd like to maybe get some more in depth work on, he might be a good person to talk to. All right. And then also another one that I really like is David Bear over on YouTube. And the reason that I like David is because he gives some really good practical step-by-step information on dealing with limiting beliefs in his podcast. You'll probably have to scroll through some stuff, but he does offer some really good functional tactics on helping you to overcome some limiting beliefs, which a lot of times translates into imposter syndrome. So there you go.
Love it.
So that's it, I think.
That is it. And then next week, Donna is very passionate and very good about this topic. So I'm super excited to talk about it. And that is design basics for non designers.
Because trying to build your cover photos and your basic design stuff shouldn't be difficult. We have some excellent free tools out there. It's just a matter of learning how to use them and use them in a way that doesn't make you want to rip out every hair on your head. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for tuning in today. Don't let imposter syndrome kick your ass, kick it back. All right. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, share your thoughts with us. You can either share them here on Facebook, on Insta, on YouTube. This episode will be going live next week at 10 a.m. I will be dropping the link to our YouTube. So that's here, and then I'll do it again on Facebook as well, and on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on Instagram. And as always, if you have any questions, you know where we are. You can either ask me, and if I don't know, you can ask Rose, and if we don't know, we will find the answer for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And if there's anything you want us to talk about, drop it in the comments.
Get in the comments.
All right. So that's it for us today. I hope everyone has a great week and a great weekend.
Yes.
Happy Friday.
Bye, guys.